The secret to attracting synchronicities could completely transform how you experience reality itself. If you've ever felt like you're walking through life disconnected from any deeper meaning, missing signs that could guide your path, or wondering why some people seem to live in a flow of meaningful coincidences while you're stuck in mundane routine, then what I'm about to share will change everything. I've spent years diving deep into the science of synchronicity, studying the work of Carl Jung, quantum physicists, and modern consciousness researchers, analyzing over 500 documented cases from my community, and personally experimenting with these principles to generate over 300 documented synchronicities in my own life. In this video, I'm going to reveal the exact 5-phase system that allows you to become a synchronicity magnet, attracting meaningful coincidences that will guide your decisions, accelerate your growth, and prove to you that the universe is indeed speaking directly to you through an intricate web of signs, symbols, and perfectly timed events. But before we dive into the system itself, there's something most people completely misunderstand about synchronicities that's blocking them from experiencing these magical moments. Most people think synchronicities are random events that just happen to lucky people, or they believe it's all confirmation bias and selective attention, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Here's why understanding this matters more than you realize. Scenario A. You continue through life treating coincidences as random occurrences, dismissing meaningful patterns, and missing the universe's guidance system that's constantly trying to communicate with you. You make decisions based solely on logic and limited information, often feeling lost, confused, or like you're swimming upstream against life's current. You struggle with timing, miss opportunities that were perfectly orchestrated for you, and live with a constant sense that something is missing from your experience of life. Scenario B. You learn to recognize and attract synchronicities as a form of direct communication between you and the deeper intelligence of the universe. You begin making decisions guided by meaningful signs, accelerating your personal growth, and experiencing a sense of flow where opportunities, people, and resources appear exactly when you need them. You develop an unshakable trust in life's process and feel supported by an intelligent universe that's always working in your favor. The truth is, synchronicities aren't random at all. They're a natural phenomenon that occurs when your consciousness aligns with the quantum field of infinite possibilities. Carl Jung, who coined the term synchronicity, described it as meaningful coincidences that reveal the underlying connectedness of all things. He spent decades documenting these experiences and concluded that they represent moments when the archetypal layer of reality breaks through into ordinary consciousness. Modern quantum physics supports this with the concept of non-locality, where particles remain mysteriously connected regardless of distance, and the observer effect, which shows that consciousness plays a fundamental role in determining reality. But here's what most people don't understand about the quantum nature of synchronicities. When you're in a coherent state of consciousness, meaning your thoughts, emotions, and intentions are aligned, you literally broadcast a specific frequency into the quantum field. This field, which contains all possibilities, responds by collapsing potential events into actual experiences that match your broadcast. Synchronicities are the universe's way of showing you that this process is working. Here's how you can start experiencing this immediately. Tonight, before you go to sleep, set a clear intention for the universe to send you a sign about a specific question or decision you're facing. Write it down in a journal and be as specific as possible. Don't just ask for a sign about my career. Ask something like, show me whether I should accept the job offer from Company X or continue pursuing my entrepreneurial path. Then, for the next 48 hours, pay attention to unusual patterns, repeated numbers, unexpected encounters, or information that seems to address your question. The key is maintaining what I call relaxed awareness, being open to signs without desperately seeking them. For example, when I was deciding whether to move to a new city last year, I asked for a clear sign about whether this move would support my highest good. Within 24 hours, I received an unexpected phone call from a friend I hadn't spoken to in months who happened to live in that exact city. During our conversation, she mentioned 3 specific opportunities that were available there that perfectly aligned with my goals. Later that same day, I saw the license plate, "New Start," while stuck in traffic. That evening, I randomly opened a book, and my eyes fell on the sentence, "Sometimes you have to leave where you are to become who you're meant to be." The convergence of these seemingly unrelated events gave me the clarity and confidence to make the move, which turned out to be one of the best decisions of my life. But hold on, there's something even more powerful that most people never discover. The first phase of becoming a synchronicity magnet is actually about changing your internal state. And this is where most people completely miss the mark. Why does your internal state matter so much? Because synchronicities operate on the principle of resonance. Just like a tuning fork will cause another tuning fork of the same frequency to vibrate, your consciousness attracts experiences that match your vibrational state. When you're in a state of fear, doubt, or resistance, you're literally broadcasting a frequency of lack and limitation, which repels the very synchronicities that could guide you toward solutions. The universe can only deliver to you what you're vibrationally aligned to receive. This principle is backed by decades of research in psychoneurology and consciousness studies. Dr. Joe Dispenza's work shows that when we're in elevated emotional states like gratitude, love, or excitement, our brain waves move into coherent patterns that literally change how we perceive and interact with our environment. In these states, we become more sensitive to subtle information and more likely to notice patterns and connections that were always there but previously invisible to us. I learned this the hard way when I was desperately seeking guidance about a major career decision 2 years ago. For weeks, I was anxiously looking for signs everywhere, but nothing meaningful appeared. I was checking my phone constantly for repeated numbers, overanalyzing every conversation, and getting increasingly frustrated. I was operating from what I now recognize as a state of spiritual desperation, the frantic energy of trying to force the universe to communicate with me on my timeline and in my preferred way. Then I realized I was operating from a state of desperation and lack, which was actually blocking the flow of synchronicities. It was like trying to hear a whisper while shouting. The guidance was there, but my internal noise was drowning it out. The moment I shifted into a state of trust and relaxed expectation, the synchronicities began flowing abundantly. The solution is what I call the receptive state protocol, and it consists of 5 specific practices that will prepare your consciousness to receive synchronistic guidance. First, practice daily meditation or mindfulness for at least 15 minutes to quiet your mental chatter and create space for subtle impressions to emerge. This isn't about stopping all thoughts. It's about developing the ability to observe your thoughts without being controlled by them. When your mind is calm, you become like a still lake that can perfectly reflect the sky above. Second, cultivate genuine gratitude by writing down 5 things you're grateful for each morning. But here's the key. Don't just list them mechanically. Really feel the appreciation in your body as you write each one. This shifts your frequency from lack to abundance, from fear to love, which are the optimal states for receiving synchronistic guidance. Gratitude literally rewires your neural pathways to notice positive patterns and opportunities rather than problems and obstacles. Third, release attachment to outcomes by reminding yourself daily that the universe's timing and methods might be different from your expectations, but they're always perfect for your highest good. This doesn't mean being passive or not taking action. It means holding your intentions lightly while remaining open to unexpected pathways. Sometimes the universe delivers exactly what you asked for, and sometimes it delivers something even better that you couldn't have imagined. Fourth, practice what I call energetic housekeeping by regularly clearing negative emotions and limiting beliefs that create static in your consciousness. This can be done through journaling, therapy, energy healing modalities, or simply spending time in nature. The clearer your internal environment, the more clearly you can receive external guidance. Fifth, cultivate a sense of wonder and curiosity about life. Approach each day as if you're an explorer in a magical realm where anything is possible. This childlike wonder opens your perception to notice the extraordinary within the ordinary, which is exactly where most synchronicities hide. Start implementing this today by setting aside 15 minutes each morning for meditation, followed by writing in your gratitude journal. Throughout the day, whenever you feel anxious or desperate for answers, take 3 deep breaths and remind yourself that you're supported by an intelligent universe that's always working in your favor. Before bed, spend a few minutes clearing any negative emotions from the day and setting a gentle intention to remain open to guidance. But there's one aspect of attracting synchronicities that most people completely overlook, and it's actually the most important part of the entire process. The second phase is about becoming fluent in the universe's language, and this requires understanding the different types of synchronicities, their meanings, and the sophisticated communication system that's always operating around you. Here's why learning this language is absolutely crucial. Most people experience synchronicities, but dismiss them as coincidences because they don't understand what they're seeing. It's like having someone speak to you in a foreign language. The communication is happening, but you're missing the message entirely. The universe is constantly broadcasting guidance, but if you don't know how to interpret the signals, you'll walk through life feeling disconnected and unsupported despite being surrounded by loving guidance. Carl Jung identified several categories of synchronicities based on his clinical observations and personal experiences. What he discovered was that meaningful coincidences follow certain patterns and appear in specific contexts that reveal their significance. Modern researchers have expanded on Jung's work to identify over a dozen distinct types of synchronistic experiences, each carrying unique information about your path and purpose. There are 7 primary types of synchronicities that the universe uses to communicate with you, and understanding each one will dramatically increase your ability to receive and interpret guidance. Number synchronicities appear as repeated digits like 1111, 222, 333, or significant dates and times, and they typically indicate that you're in alignment with your soul's purpose or that a major shift is approaching. These aren't just random patterns. They're the universe's way of getting your attention and confirming that you're on the right track. For instance, when I was writing my first book, I kept seeing 555 everywhere, on receipts, clocks, license plates, and even as the exact number of words and paragraphs I was editing. After researching the significance, I learned that 555 often represents major life changes and the courage to step into new territories. This gave me the confidence to continue writing, even when I felt overwhelmed by the magnitude of the project. The book went on to become a bestseller and open doors I never could have imagined. Animal synchronicities manifest as unusual animal encounters or repeated sightings of specific animals, each carrying unique symbolic meanings rooted in ancient wisdom traditions and shamanic practices. When a particular animal keeps appearing in your life, whether physically, in dreams, or through images and references, it's often bringing you a specific message about qualities you need to develop or challenges you're being prepared to face. Last month, during a particularly challenging time in my business, I kept encountering hawks everywhere I went. I'd see them perched on telephone poles during my morning walks, soaring overhead during lunch breaks, and even featured prominently in articles I was reading. After researching hawk symbolism, I learned that hawks represent vision, focus, and the ability to see situations from a higher perspective. This synchronicity helped me step back from the day-to-day stress and gain the clarity I needed to make strategic decisions that ultimately resolved the challenges I was facing. Book and media synchronicities occur when the exact information you need appears through unexpected sources, like overhearing conversations, random book recommendations, or stumbling upon articles that directly address your current situation. These synchronicities often feel almost magical because the information is so perfectly timed and relevant to your needs. I experienced a powerful example of this when I was struggling with a relationship issue that had been causing me stress for months. While waiting in line at a coffee shop, I overheard two strangers discussing a book called The 5 Love Languages. Something about their conversation resonated deeply, so I bought the book that same day. The insights I gained completely transformed my understanding of the relationship dynamic and gave me tools to resolve the situation with compassion and clarity. People's synchronicities happen when the right person appears at exactly the right moment with exactly what you need, whether it's information, resources, connections, or simply emotional support. These encounters often feel divinely orchestrated because of their perfect timing and the profound impact they have on your life. Environmental synchronicities show up as unusual weather patterns, found objects, or changes in your physical environment that mirror your internal state or provide symbolic guidance. These might include finding meaningful objects when you need encouragement, experiencing sudden weather changes that reflect your emotional state, or noticing environmental signs that confirm decisions you're contemplating. Technological synchronicities involve meaningful glitches, unexpected messages, or serendipitous discoveries through digital devices and social media. In our modern world, the universe has adapted to communicate through the technologies we use most frequently. Dream synchronicities occur when themes, symbols, or messages from your dreams appear in your waking life, creating a bridge between your unconscious wisdom and conscious awareness. These experiences often feel particularly profound because they demonstrate the interconnectedness of all levels of consciousness. Here's how to decode these messages in real time. Keep a detailed synchronicity journal where you record every meaningful coincidence, no matter how small. Include the date, time, what was happening in your life, what question or situation you were contemplating, and most importantly, how the synchronicity made you feel. After a week, review your entries and look for patterns. You'll start noticing that certain types of synchronicities appear when you're on the right track, while others show up when you need to change direction. The key to interpretation is developing what I call symbolic literacy, the ability to understand the metaphorical language that consciousness uses to communicate. This requires moving beyond literal thinking and embracing the poetic, archetypal dimension of experience. When you see a butterfly, it might literally be just a butterfly, but if it appears at a moment when you're contemplating a major life transformation, it becomes a synchronistic confirmation of your readiness to emerge from your current cocoon. But learning to decode synchronicities is only half the equation. The real magic happens when you learn to actively collaborate with this universal guidance system, which brings us to the most powerful phase of all. The third phase is where everything I've shared so far comes together in a way that will completely transform your relationship with reality. Most people think synchronicities just happen to them, but the truth is, you can actively participate in creating them through what I call intentional co-creation. This is where you move from being a passive receiver of guidance to becoming an active partner in the cosmic dance of meaningful coincidences. Why is this level of collaboration so important? Because when you move from being a passive observer of synchronicities to an active participant in their creation, you're literally partnering with the intelligence of the universe. You become a conscious co-creator of your reality, able to manifest opportunities, connections, and resources with unprecedented speed and precision. You're no longer at the mercy of random events. You're actively participating in orchestrating the symphony of your life. This concept might sound mystical, but it's actually grounded in quantum physics and consciousness research. The quantum field responds to conscious intention, and when you set clear intentions while maintaining an open, receptive state, you literally influence the probability of certain events occurring. You become what physicists call a strange attractor in the quantum field, drawing experiences and opportunities that match your energetic signature. Intentional co-creation operates on 4 fundamental principles that govern how consciousness interacts with the quantum field of possibilities. First, the clarity principle states that the universe responds most powerfully to specific, emotionally charged intentions rather than vague wishes. Instead of asking for more money, you might ask for the perfect opportunity to earn an additional $5,000 per month doing work that aligns with my purpose and serves others. The more specific and emotionally resonant your intention, the more precisely the universe can respond. Second, the action principle requires that you take inspired action toward your goals while remaining open to unexpected pathways. The universe helps those who help themselves, but not in the way most people think. It's not about forcing outcomes through sheer will. It's about taking aligned action from a place of inspiration and trust, then allowing the universe to amplify your efforts in ways you couldn't have planned. Third, the trust principle demands that you surrender your need to control how your desires manifest, allowing the universe to orchestrate events in ways your logical mind couldn't imagine. This is perhaps the most challenging aspect for most people, because we're conditioned to believe we need to figure everything out ourselves. But the universe has access to infinite possibilities and can arrange coincidences that involve thousands of people and circumstances in ways that would be impossible for any individual to orchestrate. Fourth, the reciprocity principle recognizes that the more you give to others and serve the greater good, the more the universe supports your own goals and dreams. This isn't about keeping score or expecting immediate returns. It's about understanding that we're all part of an interconnected web of consciousness, and what serves one ultimately serves all. Here's the exact protocol I use to collaborate with Synchronicities. Every Sunday evening, I perform what I call a Synchronicity Summit. I sit quietly with my journal in a meditative state and clearly state my intentions for the coming week, being as specific as possible about what I want to create or resolve. I write down not just the outcomes I desire, but also how I want to feel and how I want to serve others through achieving these goals. Then I ask the universe to send me clear signs about the best actions to take and to arrange synchronicities that will support my highest good and the good of all involved. I specifically request guidance about timing, opportunities, and connections that will accelerate my progress while ensuring that my success contributes to the well-being of others. Throughout the week, I take at least one inspired action daily toward my goals while staying alert for synchronistic guidance about next steps. I've learned to distinguish between actions that come from fear or impatience and those that arise from genuine inspiration. Inspired actions feel energizing and aligned, even when they're challenging. Fear-based actions feel forced and draining, even when they seem logical. Let me share a specific example of how powerful this process can be. Last month, I used this protocol to find a new apartment in an extremely competitive market where good places were being rented within hours of being listed. Instead of just frantically searching online listings and competing with dozens of other applicants, I set the clear intention to find the perfect home through synchronistic means. I wrote in my journal, I intend to find a beautiful, affordable apartment that feels like home, where I can be creative and productive, and where I'll be surrounded by positive neighbors. I ask the universe to guide me to this perfect place through synchronicities and to make the process smooth and joyful for everyone involved. Within 3 days, I had a random conversation with a barista at my local coffee shop who mentioned that her friend was moving out of an amazing apartment that wasn't even listed yet. The friend happened to be looking for someone who appreciated beautiful spaces and took care of properties well. Not only did I get the apartment without competing with other applicants, but the rent was $400 below market rate, and it had features I hadn't even dared to put on my wish list. A writing nook with perfect natural light, a small garden, and neighbors who turned out to be artists and writers who became close friends. But the story doesn't end there. The move itself was orchestrated through a series of synchronicities. On moving day, I discovered that the moving company I'd hired was run by a man who turned out to be the brother of someone I'd helped years earlier with a career transition. He refused to accept payment and said he was grateful for the opportunity to return the favor. My new neighbor offered to help and turned out to be a graphic designer who later became a collaborator on several projects. The synchronicities kept cascading, creating positive outcomes that extended far beyond just finding a place to live. You can start experimenting with this immediately. Choose one area of your life where you'd like to see positive change: relationships, career, health, or creativity. Write down a specific intention for what you want to create, being as detailed as possible about both the outcome and how you want to feel. Then ask the universe to guide you through synchronicities and to arrange the perfect circumstances for your intention to manifest in ways that serve everyone involved. Commit to taking one small action each day toward this goal while remaining completely open to unexpected opportunities or directions that emerge. Pay attention to impulses, ideas, and encounters that seem to support your intention, and be willing to follow synchronistic guidance even when it leads you in directions you hadn't anticipated. But here's where most people sabotage their synchronicity practice without even realizing it. There are 5 major blocks that prevent people from experiencing the full power of universal guidance. And if you don't address these, everything I've shared will remain just interesting theory rather than transformative practice. The first block is what I call spiritual skepticism. This happens when part of you wants to believe in synchronicities, but your rational mind keeps dismissing them as coincidences or confirmation bias. The internal conflict creates resistance that literally repels synchronistic experiences. You end up in a frustrating cycle where you're looking for signs, but simultaneously doubting their validity, which sends mixed signals to the universe and blocks the flow of guidance. Here's how to resolve this conflict once and for all. Instead of trying to convince your skeptical mind that synchronicities are real through belief alone, approach them as a practical tool for accessing your intuition and making better decisions. Even if synchronicities were just your subconscious mind helping you notice relevant information that was always there, they would still be incredibly valuable for decision-making and problem-solving. Treat synchronicity work as an experiment rather than a belief system. Commit to following the practices I've outlined for 30 days and objectively observe the results. Keep detailed records of your experiences and the outcomes that follow. Most people who approach synchronicities with this scientific mindset become convinced of their reality through direct experience rather than through faith or wishful thinking. The second block is impatience and forcing. When people first learn about synchronicities, they often become desperate for immediate signs, constantly scanning their environment and getting frustrated when nothing obvious appears. This desperate energy actually repels synchronicities because it's rooted in lack and fear rather than trust and abundance. The universe responds to trust and relaxed expectation, not to desperate demanding. The solution is what I call divine timing acceptance. Remind yourself daily that the universe operates on perfect timing, not your timeline. Sometimes synchronicities appear instantly to give you immediate confirmation or guidance, and sometimes they unfold over weeks or months as part of a larger orchestration you can't see yet. The universe is always working on your behalf, but the timing of manifestation depends on factors beyond your immediate awareness. The readiness of other people involved, the alignment of circumstances, and your own spiritual preparation for what you're requesting. Practice what I call active patience. Continue taking inspired action while trusting that guidance will emerge exactly when you need it. This isn't passive waiting. It's maintaining forward momentum while remaining open to course corrections and new opportunities that arise along the way. The third and most subtle block is meaning addiction. This occurs when people become so focused on finding meaning in every coincidence that they start forcing significance onto random events. They see synchronicities everywhere, even when none exist, which actually disconnects them from genuine universal guidance. It's like crying wolf. When everything is a sign, nothing is a sign. The key is developing what I call discerning intuition. True synchronicities have a distinct quality that you can learn to recognize. They feel meaningful in your body, not just your mind. They often appear during times when you're contemplating specific questions or facing important decisions. They tend to repeat or build upon each other, creating clear patterns over time rather than being isolated incidents. Practice distinguishing between genuine synchronicities that resonate deeply and random coincidences that you're trying to make meaningful. A real synchronicity will feel significant even if you can't immediately understand its meaning, while a forced interpretation will feel hollow or overstretched. Trust your body's wisdom. Genuine synchronicities often create a physical sensation of recognition, like a gentle buzzing or a feeling of rightness in your chest or stomach. The fourth block is spiritual materialism, which happens when people use synchronicity work primarily to get what they want rather than to align with their highest purpose. While there's nothing wrong with asking for guidance about practical matters, when synchronicity practice becomes primarily about manifesting desires rather than developing wisdom and spiritual growth, it loses much of its power. The universe is far more interested in your evolution and service than in your comfort and convenience. The most powerful synchronicities often guide you toward challenges that will stretch you, opportunities to serve others, or paths that will develop your character rather than just fulfill your wishes. When you align your intentions with your soul's purpose and the greater good, synchronicities become much more abundant and meaningful. The fifth block is isolation practice, which occurs when people try to develop their synchronicity skills in isolation rather than in community with others who are on similar paths. Synchronicity work thrives in community because other people often serve as channels for the guidance you need, and you serve as a channel for the guidance they need. Join or create a community of people who are interested in conscious living and spiritual development. Share your synchronicity experiences with trusted friends and ask them to share theirs with you. Often, the synchronicities in other people's lives will contain guidance that's relevant to your situation, and vice versa. Here's your expanded 24-hour action plan to start experiencing more synchronicities immediately. Before bed tonight, choose one important question or decision you're facing and write it in a journal with as much specificity as possible. Ask the universe to send you guidance through synchronicities over the next week, and specifically request that the signs be clear enough that you won't doubt their significance. For the next 7 days, practice the complete receptive state protocol each morning to 15 minutes of meditation, gratitude journaling with genuine appreciation, and setting a gentle intention to remain open to guidance throughout the day. Throughout each day, maintain relaxed awareness while taking at least one inspired action toward your goals. Each evening, record any meaningful coincidences, patterns, or unusual occurrences in your synchronicity journal. Include not just the events themselves, but your thoughts and feelings at the time they occurred, and any insights or guidance they seem to offer. After 7 days, review your entries and notice what guidance has emerged and how it relates to the question you originally asked. But there's still one crucial element that can accelerate your synchronicity practice beyond anything I've shared so far. Most people don't realize that synchronicities operate in seasons and cycles, just like nature itself. And understanding these rhythms is like having a weather forecast for your spiritual life. Understanding synchronicity seasons is like having a weather forecast for your spiritual life. During certain periods, synchronicities flow abundantly and guidance is crystal clear. During other times, the universe seems quiet and you're meant to integrate previous guidance rather than seek new signs. When you align your expectations with these natural rhythms, you stop struggling against the current and start flowing with the universe's perfect timing. There are 5 primary synchronicity seasons you need to understand, each with its own characteristics and purposes. Planting season occurs when you're setting new intentions or starting new projects. During this time, Synchronicities often appear as confirmation that you're on the right path, resources that support your goals, or people who can help you move forward. The signs tend to be encouraging and supportive, giving you the confidence to continue even when the path ahead isn't completely clear. Growth season happens when you're actively working toward your goals and making steady progress. Synchronicities during this phase typically provide course corrections, accelerate your timeline, or reveal opportunities you hadn't considered. The signs might challenge you to step outside your comfort zone or make adjustments to your approach, but they always serve to optimize your path toward success. Pruning season arrives when you need to let go of something that's no longer serving your highest good. Synchronicities during this time often highlight what needs to be released: relationships, habits, beliefs, or situations that are holding you back. These signs can sometimes feel uncomfortable because they're asking you to make difficult but necessary changes. Harvest season comes when you're ready to receive the fruits of your efforts. Synchronicities become abundant and obvious, bringing exactly what you've been working toward. This is often the most exciting phase because the universe seems to be showering you with gifts and opportunities. But it's important to remember that these gifts are the result of seeds you planted and tended during previous seasons. Integration season is a quieter time when you're meant to absorb and integrate the lessons and gifts you've received. Synchronicities may be less frequent during this phase, which can be discouraging if you don't understand that this is a natural and necessary part of the cycle. This is the time to reflect on your experiences, consolidate your gains, and prepare for the next planting season. Recognizing which season you're in helps you interpret synchronicities correctly and adjust your expectations accordingly. If you're in planting season but expecting harvest season results, you'll feel frustrated and disconnected. If you're in growth season but trying to plant new seeds, you'll miss important guidance about your current path. You can identify your current season by honestly assessing where you are in your major life goals and projects. If you're just beginning something new or feeling called to make significant changes, you're in planting season and should look for confirmatory signs and supportive resources. If you've been actively working but haven't seen major results yet, you're in growth season and should pay attention to guidance about adjustments or opportunities. If you're feeling resistance or noticing that certain areas of your life feel stagnant or problematic, you might be in pruning season and should look for signs about what needs to be released or transformed. If you've been working consistently and are starting to see significant progress, you're entering harvest season and can expect more obvious manifestations and completions. If you've recently achieved major goals or experienced significant life changes, you might be in integration season, which means it's time to focus on processing and integrating your experiences rather than seeking new guidance. Here's something that will revolutionize how you work with synchronicities forever. The most powerful practitioners don't just receive synchronicities, they learn to send them to others as well. When you become a conduit for universal guidance, helping orchestrate meaningful coincidences for other people, you align yourself so deeply with the flow of life that synchronicities become as natural as breathing. This practice, which I call synchronicity service, works because the universe operates on the principle of circulation. Energy that flows freely remains vibrant and abundant, while energy that gets hoarded or blocked becomes stagnant. The more guidance you help channel to others, the more guidance flows through your own life. It's like becoming a river instead of a stagnant pond. The constant flow keeps everything fresh and abundant. Synchronicity service operates on the understanding that we're all connected through the web of consciousness, and that serving others' highest good automatically serves our own. When you help someone else receive the guidance they need, you're actually strengthening the entire synchronicity network that supports all of us. Start practicing synchronicity service by paying attention when friends or family members are struggling with decisions or seeking guidance. Instead of immediately offering advice from your limited perspective, ask the universe to show you how you can serve as a bridge for the guidance they need. Sometimes this means sharing a book recommendation that perfectly addresses their situation. Other times, it means introducing them to someone who can help, or simply being present when they need to talk through their thoughts. The key is learning to get your ego out of the way and become a clear channel for whatever guidance wants to flow through you. This requires developing humility and trust, recognizing that you don't need to have all the answers yourself. You just need to be willing to serve as a conduit for the wisdom that wants to emerge. Last week, I had a powerful example of how this works. A friend was extremely stressed about choosing between two job offers, and I could see that her anxiety was preventing her from accessing her own inner wisdom about the decision. Instead of telling her what I thought she should do, I set the intention to help her receive clear guidance from the universe. The next day, while we were having coffee, I felt a sudden impulse to suggest visiting a nearby bookstore. I didn't know why. It wasn't part of our original plan, but the impulse was so strong that I mentioned it. She felt drawn to the idea, so we went. While browsing, she was mysteriously attracted to a section she'd never explored before, and randomly picked up a book that contained a chapter, specifically about career decision-making that addressed her exact situation. The author's framework helped her realize that one offer aligned with her long-term values and vision, while the other was just more money for work that would drain her soul. She made her decision with complete confidence and later told me that reading that chapter felt like the universe was speaking directly to her. What made this even more synchronistic was that we later discovered the author lived in our city and was offering a workshop the following week that ended up being transformative for her career development. You can start practicing this immediately. The next time someone in your life is facing a challenge or seeking guidance, instead of rushing to give advice, silently ask the universe how you can help them receive the guidance they need. Then pay attention to impulses to share resources, make introductions, or create opportunities for them to gain clarity. You might feel moved to recommend a specific book, suggest they talk to a particular person, or invite them to attend an event with you. Sometimes you'll simply feel called to listen deeply while they process their thoughts out loud, serving as a witness for their own inner knowing to emerge. The more you practice this, the more you'll notice that serving others in this way creates a flow of synchronicities in your own life as well. It's as if the universe rewards your willingness to serve by increasing the guidance and support available to you. But here's the most profound realization about synchronicities that most people never discover. They're not just about getting what you want or solving your problems. Synchronicities are actually the universe's way of teaching you that you're not separate from life itself. You're an integral part of a vast, intelligent, interconnected web of consciousness that's constantly communicating and collaborating with itself. When you start living in harmony with synchronicities, you realize that the boundaries between your inner world and outer world are illusions created by the limited perspective of the ego. Your thoughts, emotions, and intentions are constantly interacting with the field of infinite possibilities, and synchronicities are simply the visible evidence of this interaction. You begin to understand that you're not a separate individual trying to manipulate an external universe. You're a unique expression of universal consciousness experiencing itself through the lens of your particular life. This understanding transforms not just how you make decisions, but how you see yourself and your place in the cosmic order. You realize that your personal growth and healing contributes to the healing of the whole, and that your joy and success adds to the joy and success of all life. You understand that you're being supported not just for your own benefit, but because your well-being serves the greater unfolding of consciousness itself. The deepest practitioners of synchronicity work report experiencing what I call unity consciousness, moments when they feel completely connected to everything around them, when the guidance flows so naturally that they're no longer seeking signs, but living as a sign themselves. They become so attuned to the universe's intelligence that their very presence helps orchestrate synchronicities for others. In these states, they report feeling like they're being lived by life rather than living life, as if they're instruments, being played by a cosmic intelligence that knows exactly what notes to play and when. They experience themselves as both the observer and the observed, the seeker and the sought, the guidance and the guided. This level of realization doesn't happen overnight, but it's available to anyone willing to commit to the practice with sincerity and devotion. It requires releasing the ego's need to control outcomes and surrendering to a wisdom far greater than your individual mind. It means trusting the process, even when you can't see the bigger picture, and remaining open to guidance that might challenge your preconceptions or comfort zone. The path to this mastery involves what I call the fifth phase of synchronicity work, conscious partnership with universal intelligence. This is where you move beyond asking for signs and begin living as a co-creative partner with the cosmos itself. You develop such sensitivity to the subtle currents of guidance that you can feel them before they manifest as external synchronicities. In this phase, you learn to sense the quality of different choices before making them. You can feel when you're moving toward an experience that will serve your growth and when you're moving away from your highest path. You develop what mystics have called prophetic consciousness, the ability to sense the potential futures that are trying to emerge and to align your actions with the most beneficial possibilities. This involves developing several advanced capacities that most people never even know are possible. First is energetic sensitivity, the ability to feel the subtle energy signatures of people, places, and situations before engaging with them. When you walk into a room, you immediately sense whether the energy supports your well-being or drains it. When you meet someone new, you can feel whether they're meant to play a significant role in your life or are just a passing encounter. Second is temporal awareness, the ability to sense perfect timing for actions and decisions. You develop an internal clock that's synchronized with cosmic rhythms, knowing intuitively when to move forward and when to wait, when to speak and when to remain silent, when to engage and when to withdraw. This isn't about following rigid rules. It's about developing such sensitivity to the flow of life that you naturally move in harmony with it. Third is symbolic fluency, the ability to read the symbolic language of reality in real time. Everything becomes potentially meaningful. The weather, the behavior of animals, the patterns of traffic, the words on billboards, the songs that play when you turn on the radio. You develop the ability to discern which symbols carry genuine guidance and which are just background noise. Fourth is collective attunement, the ability to sense what wants to emerge, not just in your personal life, but in your community and the world at large. You become sensitive to collective currents and can feel when major changes are approaching in social, political, or economic systems. This allows you to position yourself to serve during times of transition and to help others navigate periods of uncertainty. Let me share how this played out in my own life during a particularly challenging period when the entire world was dealing with unprecedented disruption. Months before the major global shifts began, I started experiencing dreams and synchronicities that suggested massive changes were coming. The symbols were consistent, bridges collapsing and being rebuilt, old structures crumbling while new ones emerged, and images of people learning to fly without mechanical assistance. At first, I thought these might be personal symbols about changes in my own life, but the intensity and frequency suggested something much larger. I began preparing for major disruptions by developing multiple income streams, building community connections, and learning skills that would be valuable during times of uncertainty. When the disruptions actually began, I was not only prepared, but was able to help many others navigate the changes because I had received early warning through synchronistic guidance. The key to developing these advanced capacities is what I call surrender mastery, the paradoxical ability to influence outcomes by releasing attachment to them. This isn't passive resignation. It's active trust in the intelligence of life itself. You learn to set clear intentions while holding them so lightly that you're completely open to better possibilities than you could have imagined. Surrender mastery also involves developing comfort with uncertainty and change. Most people resist the unknown because they've been conditioned to believe that security comes from controlling circumstances. But true security comes from knowing that you're supported by an intelligent universe that's always orchestrating events for the highest good of all involved, even when you can't see how the pieces fit together. The practitioners who master this level of synchronicity work report that life becomes an ongoing conversation with the divine. They wake up each morning curious about what the universe wants to create through them that day. They approach challenges as opportunities to deepen their trust and expand their capacity to serve. They see obstacles as redirections toward better paths rather than as problems to be solved through force. But here's something that might surprise you about advanced synchronicity work. The more masterful you become, the less dramatic the external signs become, because you're receiving guidance through increasingly subtle channels. Instead of needing obvious coincidences to get your attention, you learn to sense the gentle nudges that guide you toward perfect timing and optimal choices. Advanced practitioners often describe their guidance as a subtle knowing that arises from within, confirmed by gentle external signs rather than dramatic coincidences. They might feel drawn to take a different route to work, and later discover that this choice allowed them to avoid an accident or led to an unexpected encounter that opened new opportunities. The guidance becomes so integrated into their natural way of being that they're no longer consciously seeking signs. They're living in alignment with the flow of life itself. This is why many people who are just beginning their synchronicity practice sometimes feel discouraged when they hear about the experiences of advanced practitioners. They expect increasingly dramatic signs, but the opposite often occurs. As you become more sensitive to subtle guidance, the universe doesn't need to shout to get your attention. A whisper is sufficient. The goal isn't to accumulate impressive synchronicity stories to share at parties. The goal is to develop such intimate trust with the intelligence of life that you're constantly being guided toward experiences that serve your growth and allow you to serve others. Sometimes this guidance leads to dramatic adventures and miraculous manifestations, but more often it leads to a quiet confidence and deep peace that comes from knowing you're exactly where you need to be. Now let's talk about the practical aspects of maintaining a long-term synchronicity practice, because this is where most people struggle. The initial excitement of discovering synchronicities can carry you for weeks or even months, but sustaining the practice over years requires developing what I call spiritual discipline, not rigid rules, but consistent habits that keep you aligned with the flow of guidance. The first essential habit is daily attunement, spending time each morning connecting with your deepest intentions and asking how you can serve the highest good that day. This isn't about making demands of the universe. It's about checking in with your inner compass and aligning your actions with your soul's purpose. The second habit is evening integration, spending time each evening reviewing the day's experiences and acknowledging the guidance you received, even if it was subtle. This practice trains your awareness to notice synchronicities and strengthens your ability to interpret their meanings. The third habit is weekly planning, setting aside time each week to review longer-term patterns and adjust your course based on the accumulated guidance you've received. This helps you see the bigger picture of how synchronicities are orchestrating your life over extended periods. The fourth habit is monthly deep dive. Once a month, doing a thorough review of your synchronicity journal to identify major themes and patterns that might not be visible from day to day. This is often when the most profound insights emerge about the direction your life is taking and the lessons you're being invited to learn. The fifth habit is seasonal surrender. Every 3 months, taking time to release attachments to outcomes that may no longer be aligned with your highest good and opening to new possibilities that want to emerge. This prevents you from trying to force manifestations that are no longer appropriate for your growth. But perhaps the most important aspect of long-term practice is developing synchronicity community, connecting with others who are on similar paths and can support your journey while benefiting from your support in return. Synchronicity work thrives in community because other people often serve as channels for the guidance you need, and you serve as a channel for the guidance they need. This doesn't mean you need to find people who share your exact beliefs about how synchronicities work. It means finding people who are committed to conscious living, personal growth, and serving something greater than their individual desires. These might be meditation groups, spiritual communities, personal development circles, or simply friends who are interested in living more intentionally. When you share your synchronicity experiences with trusted others, several important things happen. First, speaking about your experiences helps you process their meanings more deeply. Second, other people often notice patterns or connections that you might miss. Third, hearing about others' synchronicities expands your understanding of how guidance can manifest. Fourth, the act of witnessing each other's spiritual experiences creates a field of support that amplifies everyone's capacity to receive guidance. I've been part of a small synchronicity circle for 3 years now, and the collective wisdom that emerges from our monthly gatherings consistently amazes me. We share our experiences without trying to interpret them for each other, but often someone will share a synchronicity that contains exactly the guidance another person needs. It's as if the universe uses our gatherings to distribute guidance through the group in the most efficient way possible. You can start building your own synchronicity community by simply beginning to share your experiences with people you trust. You might be surprised to discover that many people have synchronicity stories they've never shared because they weren't sure others would understand or believe them. By opening up about your own experiences, you give others permission to share theirs. As we near the end of our journey together through this synchronicity mastery system, I want to address one final aspect that can make the difference between casual dabbling and genuine transformation. Most people approach synchronicity work as an interesting side practice, something they do when they remember or when they're facing major decisions. But the real power emerges when synchronicity awareness becomes a way of life rather than a technique you use occasionally. Living in synchronicity, consciousness means approaching each moment with the understanding that everything is potentially meaningful and that guidance is always available if you know how to receive it. It means treating your entire life as a conversation with the divine, where every experience, pleasant or challenging, contains information that can serve your growth and help you serve others more effectively. This doesn't mean becoming obsessed with finding meaning in every detail or living in constant analysis of potential signs. It means developing a background awareness that remains open to guidance while you go about your daily activities. It's like having a radio tuned to a station that plays beautiful music softly in the background. You're not always actively listening, but the music enriches your experience, and occasionally, a particular song catches your attention with a message you need to hear. When you live in synchronicity consciousness, decision-making becomes much easier because you have access to information beyond what your logical mind can process. You can sense which choices will lead toward growth and which will lead toward stagnation. You can feel when you're moving in harmony with life's intelligence and when you're pushing against the current. Relationships become more authentic because you can sense which people are meant to be in your life for the long term and which are meant to serve specific temporary purposes. You waste less energy trying to force connections that aren't meant to be and invest more energy in relationships that support mutual growth. Career decisions become clearer because you can feel which opportunities align with your soul's purpose and which are just ego gratification. You're guided toward work that not only sustains you financially, but also allows you to express your unique gifts in service of something larger than yourself. Health choices become more intuitive because you can sense what your body needs for optimal vitality and what depletes your energy. You're guided toward healing modalities, foods, and lifestyle choices that support your well-being on all levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. Creative expression becomes more authentic because you can feel when you're channeling something true and meaningful versus when you're just going through the motions. You're guided toward creative projects that want to emerge through you and away from activities that don't serve your authentic expression. Even mundane daily activities become more enjoyable because you understand that you're participating in a vast, intelligent dance of consciousness. Washing dishes becomes a meditation, commuting becomes an opportunity for reflection, and grocery shopping becomes a treasure hunt for synchronistic encounters. This level of integration takes time to develop, but every step along the way enriches your experience of life. You don't need to wait until you've mastered all the techniques I've shared to begin experiencing the benefits. Every moment of synchronicity awareness, every instance of following intuitive guidance, and every act of serving others' highest good contributes to your development and makes your life more meaningful. The most important thing to remember is that this is a practice, not a performance. There will be days when you feel deeply connected to the flow of guidance, and days when you feel disconnected and uncertain. Both are natural parts of the journey. The goal isn't to maintain a constant state of mystical awareness. It's to gradually develop more sensitivity to guidance and more trust in the intelligence of life. Be patient with yourself as you develop these new capacities. Like learning any skill, synchronicity mastery requires consistent practice and gentle persistence. Celebrate the small signs and subtle guidances as much as the dramatic coincidences. Trust that every step you take toward greater awareness serves not only your own growth, but the evolution of consciousness itself. Remember that you're not doing this work in isolation. Every person who commits to living more consciously and following their inner guidance contributes to a growing field of awakened awareness that supports everyone's journey. Your willingness to trust in something greater than your individual perspective helps create permission for others to do the same. As you continue developing your synchronicity practice, you'll likely find that the most profound changes aren't in the external circumstances of your life, but in your internal relationship with life itself. You'll develop an unshakable trust that you're supported by an intelligent universe that's always working in your favor, even when appearances suggest otherwise. This trust becomes the foundation for a life lived with courage, compassion, and purpose. When you know that you're guided and supported, you're willing to take risks that lead to growth. When you understand that challenges are opportunities for evolution, you approach difficulties with curiosity rather than resistance. When you recognize that your personal healing and happiness contribute to the healing and happiness of the whole, your life becomes a joyful service to the greater good. So that's how you become a magnet for synchronicities and start living in conscious partnership with the universe's intelligence. Everything I just shared represents years of research, experimentation, and refinement, but without consistent daily practice, it remains just interesting information rather than transformative experience. The truth is, most people treat synchronicity work like they treat exercise. They get excited for a few days, then gradually abandon the practice when life gets busy or when they don't see immediate dramatic results. But synchronicities are like a muscle that gets stronger with consistent use, and like a language that becomes more fluent with regular practice. The people who transform their lives through synchronicity work are those who commit to the daily practices. I've outlined and maintained their synchronicity journals for months and years, not just weeks. They understand that developing sensitivity to universal guidance is one of the most valuable skills they can cultivate, and they're willing to invest the time and attention required to master it. If you're serious about transforming your life through synchronicities, start your practice today with the complete protocol I outlined. Then commit to maintaining your synchronicity journal and daily attunement practice for at least 90 days. Most people who complete this initial commitment report experiencing a fundamental shift in how they navigate life, from feeling lost and uncertain to feeling guided and supported at every step. But here's what separates the people who have occasional synchronicity experiences from those who live in constant flow with universal guidance. The masters understand that synchronicity work isn't about getting the universe to serve their personal desires. It's about aligning their personal desires with the universe's unfolding purpose. When you make this shift, synchronicities become not just helpful coincidences. but sacred communications that guide you toward your highest destiny.